Request you to please sit down, and you may feel free to take the seats in the front. There are a lot of vacant seats in the front, and you may feel free to move in the front. For the delegates who are still outside, can hear me, may feel free to get their cups of tea and coffee inside. And we are now going to start our next session. This is the fifth and final session of our today's seminar on rethinking the urban governance and development. This session, ladies and gentlemen, is being chaired by Mr. Sanjeev Ahluwalia, the advisor ORF. And in the panel, we have with us Mr. Luis Gomez, who is the International Director with Smart City World Expo, Mr. Ravi Kriplani, Managing Director and CEO, ThyssenKrupp India Private Limited, Mr. Vivek Soni, Partner KPMG, and Mr. Tom Grunwiek, who is the founder with Linkabus. And just a very short introduction for our panel here. Mr. Gomez is the Vice President of International Strategy at the Smart City Expo World Congress in Barcelona, the premier international event convening the world's leading experts on smart cities. Business leaders, municipalities, innovative thinkers, and key decision makers from all around the world gather to share insights, results, and strategies for tackling the challenges facing cities globally. And he has also organized other smart city events in cities like Medellin, Bogota, Brasilia, Shanghai, Seoul, and Tel Aviv. So we'll move on. Our next panelist is Mr. Tom Grunwiek, who is the CFO and founder of Linkabus. And Linker is one of the most innovative electric bus manufacturers offering solutions for full transition to emission-free collective bus transport in cities. Linker is combining lightweight engineering with energy-efficient electric drivelines, providing an electric bus with leading operation performance, making electrification of bus transport systems feasible both financially and operationally. Mr. Sanjeev Ahluwalia, who is chairing the session for us, is the advisor ORF, that is the Observer Research Foundation, and is affiliated with the Energy Research Institute, or TERI, in New Delhi, where he worked for 3 years, and the Kutch Center for Infrastructure Regulation and Competition, New Delhi, is an honorary capacity. And his core skills are in the economic regulation, institutional development, public financial management, and governance, backed by experience with the World Bank in Africa, the Government of India, Finance and Commerce, and Central Electricity Regulatory Commission, and the Government of Uttar Pradesh. Mr. Ravi Kriplani is the Managing Director and CEO with ThyssenKrupp India Private Limited, and he has been there since March 2016. Prior to this, he was the Managing Director of Castrol India, and Ravi brings along with him over 34 years of experience in sales, marketing, strategy development, and as a CEO of a large and successful listed company. And he has worked with global and culturally diverse teams and led major transformational programs. Last but not the least, Mr. Vivek Soni is also on the panel. He's a partner with KPMG, which is he's a partner in KPMG India Deal Advisory Team for Private Equity Sector, and he advises clients on post-deal solutions, including fundraising strategies. He has also experience in structured finance for infrastructure assets, which focus on underwriting, structuring, and evaluation of securitization transaction in sectors of airport, toll roads, ports, and power generation. So I'm going to hand it over to our session chair, Mr. Sanjeev Ahluwalia, who will take it forward from here. Just to remind you to please place your phones on a silent mode.
Thank you very much, madam, and good afternoon or good early evening to everybody else who is still here. Many of our esteemed colleagues have worn themselves out and left, but the ones who are the strongest and the most interested in what's going on, I find, continue to be here. So thank you for that. And another request to be repeated, please do come up front, because I have cataract in my eyes and I won't be able to see any hands that are raised beyond the round table at the back over there. So please do come up, and there are lots of seats here. There's the last session. Nobody else is coming, let me assure you. Everybody's only going to leave. All right, so, I also believe that Mr. Deepak Premnarayan has a plane to catch, so he'll be going away early. So let me take this opportunity right at the start of the session to wish IMC and Mr. Premnarayan the best, and to thank him and IMC on behalf of the entire panel over here for inviting us here and for giving us the chance to broaden our horizons and really to add to knowledge for each one of us, including, I would believe, those who've come in from overseas. I would actually imagine that the maximum knowledge addition would have been there for people who come in from overseas. Because if you came in expecting to see any snakes, they are there, but they're all hidden. And it takes time to get to see them. Elephants, of course, you can see in the zoo, very near from here. So we have with us 4 panelists for this particular session. And this is sort of like a freewheeling session, as behoves the last session of the day. I think most of the other sessions are very focused on specific aspects of urbanization. But we're very fortunate that we have a broad representation of disciplines in this particular panel. We have, for instance, Louise, who is almost an international expert on how to host things around smart cities. Would that be, sorry, Louis, there you are. So sorry. Would that be a very broad way of describing you on the communication and PR aspects of smart cities? I think so. And then we have Tom Granwick on the other side of the table, who my cataract eyes were instantly attracted to, who actually is going to talk to us about an electric transportation system and how it's good for the world and good for the environment. And then to my left, we have Vivek Soni, who is a partner in KPMG. And Vivek also had to leave in the middle, but I'm really going to request him to focus on some of the key issues that in his mind are important for financing urbanization. The Honorable ex-mayor from Barcelona was astonished to hear that enough money was available for everything that we wanted to do here. And I don't know if, Vivek, you hold the same kind of impression, or whether you feel that financing is one of the key issues, or accessible financing, if I can call it that, in the Indian conditions, how big a hurdle it continues to be, but we would really like to hear your thoughts on that subject. Also, I think I would request, and Ravi right at the end, Ravi Kriplani is what one calls a socially conscious corporate, because he's the managing director and CEO of ThyssenKrupp, and I knew them only as elevators, but apparently they are a very diversified company that goes into all kinds of stuff, including very innovative business solutions. And Ravi has a deep interest in corporate social responsibility, and he has promised me informally, though he told me not to tell anybody till he checked with his board, that he's going to set up a walk across elevator at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, so that guys who are coming into Delhi looking for care don't actually end up getting none because they're dead before they reach the hospital. So we hope, Ravi, all the very best for that venture. We're not advertising it, no press over here. Chatham House rules operate. So just a couple of requests to the panelists, that you've been fortunate actually to sit with us and hear people's preoccupations and also people's concerns about the way things are in India. You've also seen how grandiose our plans are and how very, very ambitious everything is. My question to you would be, do try and match this fearlessly with the reality of India as you know it or as you have experienced it. And do comment on whether or not you feel that whilst it's always good to aim high, it's always best to also plan for achieving something that you can show results in quickly, rather than aiming and planning very high and then having to wait almost a decade before the results come in. Because in the area of public policy, early gains are very important. So are we really in this business? All these initiatives that we have today, smart cities, there's another one called Swachh Bharat, which means sanitation everywhere, clean India, and so on. They have magnificent visions. And do you find however, that the pace at which India moves, or the systems that we have for implementing public policy into reality, do they really match up with all these grand visions that we have? And lastly, I would also like you all to comment that from what you've heard, the puzzlement of the Honorable ex-mayor from Barcelona, do you share this? Because on one side, you have this enormous, this list of things that have happened, can happen, will happen. And then on the other side, you find that, okay, this is all very well, but then why do we need to meet at all? Why do we need to talk about these issues at all? Why haven't we already internalized them into pilots, into actual realizations, into results on the field? So let's try and match the grand ideas in this session with the reality. Vivek knows the reality very well. Ravi also knows the reality very well. You are still in the honeymoon stage with India, I guess, as is Tom. But let's get your impressions not only about the strict technicality that you're looking at, but also how and where do you see that being a good fit with India as you see it today. So we'll start in the order that I have been given. First is Louise. You can either speak from here, or you could go, sorry, Louise, and you could go there. I don't know why they then placed you this way. Anyway, all right. Oh yeah, I have to go that way, right and left. Okay,
I could start.
great.
I could speak from here. Well, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share with you this conference, very interesting conference. I don't know India very much, but I know India quite well. I've been here maybe 20 times or something like this, and I travel around south, north, east, west. And this is the real challenge. What is a smart city in India? What it means in India? But this is the end. I don't have the answer, but we will discuss about this. I will like to talk about the smart city, thinking like a city. I was at the city government of Barcelona during 5 years, and I would like to talk about a smart city, thinking as a city, part of the city government of any city, not Barcelona, any city. Let me introduce a little bit our event. Our event in Barcelona is every November. We did 6 times. Last time was every November. We did last November we had more than 600 cities attending. This is easy to say, but 600 cities coming from India, from China, from Japan, from the United States, Brazil, Africa, all over the world. It really is the biggest event about cities and about the smart cities in the world, with a very big difference with the follow events. Not only cities, governments, central governments, federal governments, small companies, startups, big corporations, almost all your companies was in there. It's 16,000 people, more or less, attending every November. Do you imagine something like 600 cities, 200 countries, companies, universities, flying from all over the world, attending a Barcelona conference during 3 days, staying during the 3 days in the conference, because Barcelona is a good city for a conference, but also to walk in the city, to visit a bar, to go to visit the city. But no, the people spend the 3 days in the conference. We don't know exactly, okay, we do our job, we try to do our job very well, but we guess there is something very special behind the smart cities, because such a quantity of people attending and listening and sharing and exhibiting, the exhibition area is very big. Something means about it. Smart cities is something that is happening all over the world, but in a very different levels. Because of my job, I have to visit not the 600 cities every year, but a quite number of them, and quite in touch with those cities. And one of the main questions they all the time ask is, what is a smart city for me? And this is for me, going to India again, what happens if I'm a mayor We had a former mayor here. But I'm living in Indonesia, in India, in New York, in Barcelona. What I have to do as in a smart city, what it means, there is many companies and many cities explain to me what it means in the smart cities. I remember when I was at the city government of Barcelona, I was in charge of, it was the very beginning of the electric vehicles. I was in charge, so, okay, my mayor said to me, we have to do something with for the Prepare Barcelona for the implementation of electrical vehicles. It was at the beginning, and I was not an expert at that moment. I guess it wasn't experts in electromobility at that moment. And you think in your city, you talk with your companies, you talk with car makers, utilities, everyone. Oh, you must put 1,000 recharging points in the city. Wow, 1,000 recharging points. I'm talking about 8 years ago and 9 years ago. 1,000 recharging points. There is not electrical vehicles in the city yet, but you have to put only 2 or 3 recharging points, if not it will be ridiculous. No, you have to do 1,000 or 10,000, because if not we wouldn't have electrical vehicles. That's what happens in the city every day. Mayors, deputy mayors, the directors of the of services in cities, usually they have not a huge expertise in the smart cities of electrical vehicles. And at that moment came something very important for the cities. It's common sense. Common sense is we miss a lot of time common sense. Smart cities means a very totally different thing in India, in New York, in Barcelona, in Copenhagen, in many places. Barcelona is a city, we run the city more than 20 centuries ago. We didn't call smart cities 20 centuries ago, but 20 centuries ago we started to thinking in clean water, bringing sanitation to the people. We fight very much with the mayors if they don't. The citizens of Barcelona, we love our city very much. If a mayor try to change a street or some area of the city, be careful, because the citizens will complain a lot. But what happened what means a smart city in India? I don't know, but I guess it's totally different than in Europe or things like that. For me, smart cities here, it's an opportunity. It's a challenge, but it's an opportunity. I know in the Indian cities technology is good, but it's not only the thing of technology. I guess you have problems about sanitation, you have problems about water, drinkable water. Mobility is a challenge in India. You have to change the plans. Technology will help, but you must start thinking what really you need in your country, in your city, and what it will change your cities. Because what is happening here will change the world, because you are a huge country, a big population. You are growing your population, you are growing your economy, your private sector, your public sector. You will be, in a few years, you will be a country with cities of 30, 40 million people living in there. You will have a huge problem of transportation, communication, all of them. And you could learn from the mistakes we did before, other cities around the world. And we could take cities with a good example of best practices and bring the possible of this to India. Work with the companies, because private corporations, private companies will be very happy to change the world, but really change the world. No, don't copy the platform of Barcelona or the platform of New York, in Delhi or in Hyderabad or wherever, because it is very different. And in some cities in India, you will start almost from scratch. You could change the entire city. This is a good business opportunity as well. Not only you will increase the quality of life of the city, you will do a very livable city. You could change this, but it also is a good opportunity to your small startups, your small innovation in your city also attract foreign investment, foreign companies, foreign knowledge. We will be watching you. The whole world the entire world will be watching what's happening in India. You are 1 billion 200, I don't know, 1 billion point two more or less is 5 times Europe.